Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, remember a few years ago when every online article was about millennials and how businesses should be appealing to them and engaging with them? Well, millennials are now well on their way to middle age, and there is a new sheriff in town, and I am, of course, talking about Gen Z. And once again, they're nothing like millennials or Gen X. So the big question is, how can businesses leverage technology to understand this generation, a generation that's entering the workplace, who have more disposable income than anyone else, and are not as interested in traditional things like big sporting events, for example? Well, when I wanted to learn more about this, it led me to a company called Knit. And Knit is a consumer insight startup that is providing market data for Gen Z audiences. And they work with big names such as NASCAR, Minnesota Twins, San Antonio Spurs, JBL Speakers, and so many other big name brands. And essentially, using the Knit platform, brands can upload questions and get 30 to 90 second selfie video responses from hundreds of Gen Z consumers in as quickly as just a few hours. And with their video analysis AI, brands can then analyse hours of video feedback in minutes, helping larger brands learn more about what Gen Z audiences want and expect from brands now. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to the US, where Raahish Kalara is waiting to speak with us today to share the story behind it and how they're helping big brands understand Gen Z audiences with technology. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. Well, thank you, first of all, so much for having me here, Neil. My name is Anish. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Knit. We are a Gen Z insights platform. So today we're working with some of the world's best and biggest companies, helping them tap into a network of Gen Zers to gather feedback from, primarily through the form of these 30 to 90 second long selfie videos.
And as I said before we started recording, I genuinely love what you're doing here and what you're all about. But before we dig a little bit deeper on that, can I ask you share your origin story and the moment where you either fell in love with technology or the moment that put you on the path you're on today?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit of a cliche journey. So I'm a Gen Zer myself. I started my first company a few years ago, my senior year in high school. Worked on it for a year or two in college and then dropped out to work on Knit full time. So I've always been super passionate, Neil, about helping brands connect with consumers by better understanding them. So my first company, we were an influencer marketing agency working with some amazing brands, helping them connect with everyday consumers who would create and share content on social. And it was through this work that I met my co-founder, who was working on an ad tech company. Originally, he's from India. We met in college, and we absolutely kind of hit it off immediately around this problem that we've both been working on, which was like, how do you help consumers connect with everyday, or brands connect with everyday consumers? So that's really what sparked the idea for Knit. How can we help brands better understand their everyday consumers, especially this next generation?
Fantastic. And there's so much I want to talk about here because that path led you to Knit, which is a consumer insight startup that provides marketing data for Gen Z audiences. And I think we often forget, well, I'm Gen X, the forgotten generation, but even millennials are now heading for middle age. So it's all about Gen Z right now, who are completely different from millennials about their likes and dislikes. So can you tell me a little bit more about what it is and the problems you're solving with technology at Knit?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're really solving two major challenges for our brand partners. The first one is giving them access to this next generation of consumers. So today we have a network. We can reach up to 1 million Gen Z consumers here in the US. We're actually expanding over to Europe as well. So I was not too far from you just a few months ago as we were building out our European panel. And the way we're really able to attract these Gen Zers to our panel is initially it started off as a fundraising platform for them. So it started mostly on college campuses. We were helping everyday Gen Zers connect with brands, share feedback on their questions in order to raise money for causes they really cared about. That piece is still core to our business. Obviously, we've expanded since to other types of incentives, but that was how we kind of got our foothold within this younger audience. So that's really the first problem we're solving for brands, right? It's just access to this next generation. It's so hard to reach them. And we know because we're helping brands do that all the time. The second one is actually talking to your consumers. So what we've realized is in today's digital first world, Neil, it is so difficult to stay on top of consumer trends, preferences, behaviors. And the old way of market research just doesn't cut it, right? You can't run a traditional market research survey that's going to take maybe a month or two for you to see the data, or talk to people through focus groups, which again will take like a month and a half to talk to a couple dozen folks. Through our platform, what we allow brands to do is upload your questions and get this mix of both quantitative, but also more qualitative through that 30 to 90 second long video, qualitative data from hundreds of consumers within hours. So you can talk to now 300 people in 12 to 24 hours instead of through things like focus groups or studies that can take months to talk to maybe half a dozen folks.
And when I was doing a bit of research on you guys before you came on today, I quickly learned that Knit works with some pretty big names. I'm talking NASCAR, the Minnesota Twins, the San Antonio Spurs, JBL Speakers, to name just a few brands. And I find that incredibly interesting too, because a lot of Gen Z are less interested in sport than other generations. But can you share a use case just to help listeners understand how this might work in their industry?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're totally right, Neil, about Gen Zers not engaging with sports. Sports is actually probably is our second largest vertical today in terms of where we do work. Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the work we do for our customers, we're fortunate to work with some amazing brands like you just listed. Most of the work we're doing falls into really two categories or two buckets. The first bucket is concept testing, right? Before, let's say, a JBL puts out an ad targeting this younger audience, they want feedback on that ad to see, does it resonate with this younger consumer? How can they make it better resonate with this younger consumer? So a lot of concept testing, creative names, new product ideas on our platform. The second is brand strategy, just understanding, baseline attitudes and usage of Gen Z, their baseline preferences and behaviors. How do they shop? What motivates them to go to a sports event? What social platforms are they most active on, and what are they engaging on those platforms? More of these high level questions we're able to help brands really dig deep into because of, again, our ability to gather both quantitative, that hard data, but also dig deeper through those videos into why that data is showing what it's showing. So that helps it make it really powerful for things like brand strategy and concept testing.
And there is a lot of talk at the moment around Gen Z transforming the way we consume. And there is a keen eye towards sustainability and almost holding big brands accountable for their actions or inactions around the world. But I'm curious, what are you seeing around that?
Absolutely. Sustainability is a hot topic on our platform right now. We're doing a lot of research around it. And we're seeing that that's absolutely true around it being so important to Gen Z. So, some things that we're seeing today, first of all, Gen Z is 73% more likely to pay for sustainable products than products that are not sustainable. And, our generation, my generation, we expect brands to do good in the world and we reward them as well. So what we found was that 89% of us are more likely to actually purchase from companies that are supporting good causes like sustainability. And 91% of us actually are more willing to work at those companies that align their causes with causes that we care about. So really important for brands to really lean into things like sustainability, but other challenges and issues that Gen Z find to be really important. It's the best way to not only capture our attention, but also to really engage us, whether that's through things like talent acquisition or actually trying to, influence the Gen Zer to purchase your product.
So if we have any business leaders listening anywhere in the world that are taking it very seriously now, the fact that they need to reach this audience, what are the three takeaways brands that should be keeping in mind when looking to attract attract the attention of Gen Zers?
Absolutely. I think when it comes to Gen Z, there's three main things to always keep an eye out for that really define this generation. The first one is Gen Z is the most ethnically diverse generation. At least here in the US, Gen Z, only about 50% of Gen Zers identify as white, about a quarter as Hispanic, and 15% as Black. So very ethnically diverse. It's not a one size fits all when it comes to Gen Z. You really have to dig a little bit deeper, and understand that it is a really diverse generation, and this one size fits all does not work when it comes to your marketing, when it comes to engaging this next generation. The second key thing about Gen Z is we're digital natives, right? We've only grown up in a world knowing the internet, knowing social media. So we're always plugged in. We're on our phones for more than 4 hours a day. So our behaviors, our preferences, our trends are changing at the speed of the next viral TikTok. Not to sound super cliche there, but they are. And that's really important when it comes to how you market to Gen Z, right? We found through our research that over 65% of Gen Zers have actually cringed at an ad because they thought, a brand was trying too hard or using lingo or slang that didn't really resonate with them. So it's always important to kind of keep a finger on the pulse of Gen Z through things like research. And then lastly, it's Gen Z, we are social and environmental idealists. Like I mentioned, 89% of us are more likely to purchase from a brand if they support the causes we care about. And we're more likely to work at brands that support the causes we care about. So it's really important for your brand to take a stand and take a stand on issues that are really important to this next generation.
And I'm curious, if you were to take a look at your Gen Z data, gather it all together, what does it tell you about building successful communities and brands too, really?
I think what it really tells us, and when you look at the data across our platform, it really shows you how to build a brand for the future, the future products and services. I'm talking 5, 10, 15 years from now. And the reason I say that is because it shows you how brands can really target a diverse audience, how brands need to show up in a digital first world, and how brands need to kind of position themselves in a world where people really care about what a brand stands for as much, if not more, than the product that the brand or the service that the brand is selling. So when we look at the data, what we're seeing is, hey, this is what the world's going to look like 5, 10, 15 years from now, when these Gen Z consumers who are incredibly important today are going to be, the kind of millennials of today, the major spenders in the market with most of the buying power.
And just to bring to life everything that we're talking about here, can you walk me through how Knit works, how brands can upload questions and ultimately get those 30 to 90 second selfie video responses from hundreds of Gen Z consumers, all in as quickly as a few hours? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to kind of walk through that. So it all starts from kind of this network of consumers we've built. So we are Gen Z focused. We actually have millennial consumers on our platform as well. Across the United States, we have access to close to about 5 million consumers between the ages of 18 to 50 on our platform. And brands can upload their questions on our platform. They can ask virtually any type of question, very sophisticated kind of quantitative questions, as well as open-end text questions, and combine that with what we call our voice of consumer video questions. So these are open-ended questions that you expect a 30 to 90 second long video response from. We upload it on that platform. You can select and get very detailed, actually very targeted on who you want to answer these questions. And to your point, Neil, within anywhere from a couple hours to a couple days, you can hear back from hundreds, typically anywhere from 100 to 500 people through our platform. And then we have technology on the back end that's helping analyze all this data as it comes into the dashboard so that you can turn this data into actionable insights. So that's a high level of how it works and how brands kind of use our platform to gather insights.
And I was also reading about your video analysis, artificial intelligence. Now, as this is a tech podcast, I've got to go there. So can you tell me more about that and how brands use it to analyze hours of video feedback, but doing it in a much shorter space of time, even as much as minutes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That was the big lift for us. That was very difficult to build out. Yeah. So what we saw is, qualitative kind of like video feedback has been around for a while, right? I mean, if you do a focus group on Zoom, for example, that's a good kind of before what was happening before Knit, right? And what we realized is that for every 1 hour of video, it was taking a researcher upwards of anywhere from 6 to 10 hours to analyze that video, right? You have to watch it. You have to find all the key kind of themes. You have to turn those themes into insights. So we studied just for 6 months. We just talked to researchers and said, how are you doing this today? And what we kind of identified here, and this is not, a mind-blowing secret. I mean, a lot of people in this world are doing this already. A lot of them use a process called thematic analysis, where they would identify some of the key themes, coming out of these videos, kind of group these themes together and then quantify these themes. How often did these themes pop up? So that's what our AI does. It kind of mimics that process, but we do it in a way that's a very human in the loop way. So it's not a black box, right? It's not like the video comes in, the AI runs through it and pulls out the key insights. It kind of walks you through exactly what it's pulling out as the key insights and gives the human the ability to kind of tweak it and play around with it so that it's to their liking. So the analysis is done to their liking. So yeah, that's what allows us to analyze hours and hours of videos for our customers in as little as a couple minutes.
Wow, incredibly cool. And where do you go from here? What's next for you guys? I appreciate it's probably not too much you can share, but is there anything you can share about what you're focusing on over the next 12 months and beyond?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, our kind of motivator for our team here is like, how can we help brands get to the aha moment, the moment of delight, which is when they see their questions get answered, right? And we want to make that as quick as possible. And we want to help brands talk to their customers wherever their customers are, right? So we always say here at Knit, like, we want to help brands talk to any of their customers anywhere in the world. So this kind of goes back into our plans for the future. One is we want to grow outside of the US. I mentioned, we're expanding into Europe right now. We want to expand internationally so that we can truly help any brand talk to any of their customers anywhere in the world. And the second is we want to continue improving our technology so that we can help brands get to that aha moment, that moment of delight where they log on and they see the answers to their questions and make that happen instantly. That process of uploading your questions and getting that answered. So that's from a high level what we're focused on. We have a lot of exciting things happening on both the product side as well as on the audience, on the panel side, as we kind of work towards that goal.
Love that. And I also like to have a bit of fun with my guests before I let them go. We started with your origin story today. And as we come full circle, I'm going to ask you to leave us with something. And that could be your favourite song or a song that helps you get your head in the zone or means something to you that we can add to our Spotify playlist, or a book that has inspired you that we'll add to our Amazon wish list. What are you going to leave us with today? And all I ask is you give us a reason or a story behind that choice.
Awesome. Yeah. I'll go with the song. I actually checked out the Spotify playlist here before today. You have some good songs on there. So this is a funny one, a bit of an inside joke for our team, if anyone from the team is listening to this right now. So the song I would choose is called Sheesh by The Surfaces. And the reason that I choose that song is, we see a lot of Gen Z slang and lingo coming in some of the ads that we're concept testing on our platform. And so this one was really funny for us. We have a lot of brands that are kind of using this kind of lingo and slang, and sheesh was a very popular kind of slang term thrown around a lot. It got really popular on TikTok. So it kind of stuck with our team and it got really popular with some of the companies that we work with. And we loved it so much. We played it in the office all the time. We got it printed on our shirts. So if you ever check out our LinkedIn and see any of the team rocking Knit swag, we have sheesh written in big letters across all of our t-shirts. So we love it. It's a really fun kind of song and inside joke for the team here.
Oh, absolutely love that. And for anyone listening who would like to find out more information about anything we talked about today and just find out more details about Knit and how it works, etc., what's the best starting point for everything?
Yeah, absolutely. Check out our website at www.gonit.com. One of the coolest things that I think we do is we publish a ton of data available to the public for free on our website. So it's www.gonit.com/reports. So you'll see all of the data that we're posting, big everywhere from 60-page reports to, weekly blogs that we'll upload onto our platform. So a lot of great Gen Z data. So that's a great place. And then follow us along on LinkedIn and Twitter as well. We share a lot of our insights there and keep up to date with what the team is up to on those platforms.
Well, as you said in the podcast there, Gen Z are transforming the way in which we all consume, especially with that keen eye towards sustainability. They're influencing older generations and businesses and brands to prioritise sustainability in their purchasing decisions. But I love how you've discovered all this and you're proving this to brands, not just, but with actual video footage directly from the mouth, directly from the faces of Gen Zers themselves, and how you've made it easy for them to find that information through video analysis AI. Incredibly cool what you're doing. Just a big thank you for sharing that with me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here, Neil. This was a ton of fun and excited that we were able to chat.
Gen Z is transforming the way that we consume, and also with a keen eye towards sustainability, meaning they're also influencing older generations to prioritise sustainability in their purchasing decisions. So I love learning about that, and also what Gen Z data tells us about building successful communities and brands, especially when you're able to get those selfie videos and gain insights using that AI-driven video analysis. But over to you. How are you engaging with Gen Z? What role is technology playing in that? What has worked? What hasn't worked? Please share with me by emailing me techblogwriter@outlook.com. You can get me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram @Neil C. Hughes. We'll keep this conversation going. And I'll return again tomorrow with another subject and another industry of how technology is transforming it. So a big thank you as always, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.